Well, it appears that everybody's ready. And into the spacious luggage compartment with the bags. Get in, Rex, you're going too. And their 1940 Chevrolet will get them to their destination easily, safely, and with the utmost economy.
Got the radiator bolted in permanently. Time to address that spaghetti mess and bolt the grill on. Possibly see if I can figure out a way to mount a bumper, at least temporarily. So you have one connection, two connections, three connections, and a piece of wire. It's what, 10 inches long? Good times. Again, car was just rewired. This is like a nightmare every time I look at this thing. I mean, really kind of ingenious, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, what else are you going to do if you're missing the lights? I mean, the execution, not so good, but the idea, not half bad. You know, it is what it is. And I probably hate it. Looks better already. Except for the bug eyes. So let's go. Oh, it's like an iguana or something. All right, now that the front end is, well, put back on, let me try to figure out how to mount this bumper. And as you can see, there's not much there, and of course there's nothing on the frame. So I gotta figure out how to fabricate something. Should be delightful. What do you think? Too low? I don't really want it covering up the grill. Maybe a smidge higher. I got a lot of wiggle room. So this is what I'm thinking. I got this piece here clamped to the bumper bracket that I'll weld in place. Then I've got this guy here that I'll weld to the frame and then just bolt it to that. It's about the best I can come up with. That's what I got to work with here anyway. Well, not my proudest moment, but it's there. A bent bumper on a bent car, it's as good as it gets. So now onto this wonderful jam. So, oh, look at that big old booger. Shield my eyes, just shield my eyes. So I'm gonna do is pull this arm off, make a new one that dog legs down, and gives me an extra 2 inches under the bag here, so I can shorten up this link here, leave that where it's at, and have room for my bag. Well, at least that's my plan. We'll see what happens. Get that out of there. Damn. Car lifted up. Slide that baby out. Alrighty. I see room for improvement. Just pulled the bag out. Look how misshapen this thing is. It won't go back into shape. Which I'm sure if it pumps up it will, but the thing is poorly abused. You can see it's been rubbing there, rubbing down here, pretty much just waiting to pop. So after pondering over this last night, I drew everything up in CAD to replace it, but had a bit of an epiphany at about 3 o'clock this morning that it's actually just assembled wrong. Well, clearly the bag was in the wrong spot. That's a no-brainer. But the bag, if it's bolted incorrectly, has actually plenty of clearance with the drive shaft. But what you have here, you got this link here, mounts to this heim here, to this link here. Where we're going wrong is we have this here, which is a stock Corvette part. This would have actually attached, a little bit longer, attached to the stock spring. We don't need this. This piece here is supposed to bolt directly to the bottom here, which would raise it up about 2.5 inches, which would get us above the scrub line, give us room for the bag there, because the bag actually compressed is 2.5 inches, which is exactly what we would have between the mount, which is clearly dangling, and the bottom. So I'm going to disassemble all this, reassemble it to what I think is correctly, and give everything a try. Oh yeah, those booger welds, they just keep saying hi to me. And I think that will solve the rear suspension problem. Because when I get in here with where that bag is, I'm fairly certain that I have plenty of drive shaft clearance and everything else. So I'm gonna give that a whirl. Let's see if I can get those bags. And walk over here. Get the bags a little more non-dilapidated. They've actually straightened out quite a bit sitting here in front of the heater, so I think I can reuse these and I think we'll be just fine. It's having that moment of clarity at 3 o'clock in the morning where stuff kind of comes together. So I'm pretty sure that's right. I think the whole thing was just assembled incorrectly from the get-go, and it's been like that ever since. I mean, things are different in Florida, so, you know, perhaps it works there, but it don't work here in Texas. Yeah, that'll work. 1/2-inch bolt should be in good shape. Also noted this little gem. There's the bumper. That's what's holding the bumper on. Just, you know, yeah. So that's my theory right there. Just loosely put together, but that gives me more room. I don't have the top bag mount, but I think that's gonna work a heck of a lot better. Puts me up above the scrub line, which is of course everything. I think that is going to do the job. Oh, hello. That thing just keeps winking at me every time I look at it. I truly have to stop looking at stuff. Everything I touch just frightens me. I mean, there's a cotter pin, but you know, everything on this goddamn car is the same way. It's like a half-wit put this thing together. Anyways, got that bolted on like that. That's gonna work awesome. Get that lined up. Ready to air this thing up. So I've got this bolted together. Now you'll see where the bolts for the bag and the airline go. What I have figured out is on the bottom here, we have 3 holes, which typically only have 1, so this is kind of an oddball, but it's got the 3 holes. The problem, let's go here to the stupid car. Is the bag here, we have holes which we can bolt the bottom bags, but the top bracket is clocked incorrectly, so thus these holes, as you can see, don't line up. So I need to either re-drill the top. Well, that's really all I can do is re-drill the top and then that will clock this differently, bolt it down correctly, and solve our problem. That appears to at least been a pretty good part of the root problem of this, at least with the bag sitting all weird. So we're correcting that, correcting the length of the arms. I'm going to be pretty confident with this suspension being roadworthy, although I still wouldn't recommend doing it, but it's here and it is what it is.
Along that dirty road, the box full of gold.
So with that back in place, you can see now the holes line up the way they should, right in the center of that bar where it should be. Everything lines up there. That's a more natural looking bag. I haven't had it attached yet, so I'll work through that, but we're getting there. Also noted this little gem. There's the bumper. That's what's holding the bumper on. Just, you know, yeah. Well, I tried airing the car up and it doesn't work. Well, I mean, it does work, but it has an undue rotation on that bottom bar. It just doesn't have any support. So I think I'm going to change the upper mount design a little bit differently, and I'm going to draw that up in CAD and go from there. Work in progress. So what's going on? Is I can't get, let me get down here. The problem is the link here. I can't get it to go here because it doesn't articulate properly. So I put this longer bolt in here with the spacer, which works, except it puts an undue torque on the control arm and twists it. So that's just not really gonna work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that bracket and I'm gonna move it out 2 inches. And then I'll take and draw that in CAD, cut it out, weld it in there as one piece. And that way the arm joint drops right into the middle of the steering shaft, and then everything should articulate in a logical fashion. And it only works in a certain position because as it articulates through the arc of the suspension, it's going to twist and tweak anyway because there is no support on anything. It really is just, again, a very stupid thing to do. But here we are. So here we are at ride height. And you can see that's all the more has to go up. So it's not even a ton. It's just this needs to come out about 2 inches, and I think everything will function as it should. Is there enough material on here to weld to? You see it's pretty thin, so it's a bit of a nightmare. Everything about this thing just sucks. So after thinking about this last night and drawing it up in CAD, I'm not happy with any of this. One of the reasons being, if I get over here, is this really is just a poor design. The problem is this bar is designed to go up and down. However, with the rotation of the suspension at the height that it's at, causes undue stress to push the bar this direction and to twist it, which I can correct by extending this area up here out about 3 inches so the link ties on better up there to give me a bit of geometry. However, that doesn't correct the lateral movement of the bottom bar. Now, to correct that, I could pull all this off, re-engineer it so it's more of a like a Y design. So you got a bar here and another bar here that comes like an A, and that would give me the lateral stability, and that would correct it all. However, it's still never going to be all that great because it's just not a good suspension for this type of setup. And the reality is, dollars and cents wise, it doesn't make a lot of sense because the car's got so many other problems. I mean, I haven't put a tape measure on the rear suspension to see, you know, how square it is, because I know what I'm going to find. We already know the front is crooked. Also, the front is too wide, so it needs to be narrowed regardless. And that's going to be corrected. So if you start adding all these things up in terms of a parts and labor cost, it's really not logical to spend any more time on this frame. So I got it kind of band-aided so it's at least, you know, it's drivable, so we can at least get it off my rack anyhow, and tool around town a little bit. But in the meantime, we really need to start collecting parts, bite the bullet, and build a new chassis for it. From a dollar cents, I can rebuild the whole rear suspension and put a Mustang 2 on it with new frame rails and everything, probably for less cost than it would cost to fix this frame. Yeah, because some of the things like the where the front tire fits, you know, and so on, we're just going to be a lot better off. The body itself actually isn't in horrible condition. It started off as a rust-free car, so I don't really see much issues with that. I mean, really, I could spend a day and metal work most of this out to the point where it could be, you know, painted. That's not a big deal. It's just the chassis is just a nightmare. So if any of you happen to have lines on maybe a 41-ish Chevy laying around that I could use the frame off of, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'll just order a set of frame rails from, say, Cornfield Customs. They make them over there for a pretty reasonable price. And then I'll just set it up and build a new chassis. Because I mean, literally, I could build a frame in a weekend if I have all the parts. Just a lot better off than what we got here, because we can retain most of the parts off of this. So, you know, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And then button up a couple of little things, and this thing will be a badass custom. Put a set of radial white walls on here. They're a lot smaller than the other ones. These are 560s. Looks about 10 million times better with that great big old ass balloon tire. Actually makes it look like it fits in the fender well correctly anyway. Vast improvement. Can't wait to drive it. I know it's going to be surprising, but the car overheated because the fan doesn't turn on, which apparently it's supposed to turn on the switch on the dashboard and then use the thermometer that's in the engine to turn the fan on. But I don't find a thermometer anywhere, so I don't know what the hell turns the fan on. Well, the saga continues. him being as crooked as a politician and drives all right.
What the General Motors engineers have done for the motorists of today.